Former fellow NFL head coach. Jenna makes one shot for $100, and now she's a former NFL head coach.
Should we talk
I thought
about
she was
it?
saying former felon.
Nah, man, only one of those on this show.
Go ahead and read your own introduction, please, because apparently I'm
We're just giving
Eric.
her a hard time.
I know,
Really?
it's adorable.
Friday.
Friday's so
Almost missed
cute.
a handshake.
Eric Mangini is here. What's up, Eric?
You know, with that introduction, I don't know where to go.
I know. Well, he's not a felon, so we like that. We're going to talk some Tom Brady this morning. If it was up to him, there'd be no backup quarterback on the team. Get rid of the position altogether. As we learned in Tom vs. Time, his documentary, he plans on playing till he's 87 and will never get hurt. Unfortunately, though, football life doesn't work that way, and Robert Kraft knows it. His biggest fan, Bob, admitted eventually the Patriots will have to come up with a backup plan at quarterback.
I want to put my fan hat on, and you know, obviously at some point we have to, because not just that, but you think about it. Think what happened in the '08 season when in the first quarter against Kansas City, Tom goes out, and how many people would have said that Matt Castle would have led us to an 11-5 season? So once again, I put my faith and confidence in Bill. And he knows his responsibilities, and anything can happen, even if Tom comes in tip-top shape.
Interesting, Coach, that a couple months after getting rid of their backup plan, they now need to talk about a backup plan. Let's talk about timing here. When do the Patriots realistically start needing to look past Tom Brady?
Now, every single year that he's operating at the quarterback position is a little bit on borrowed time, where we're as much as Tom versus Time and his diet and the things that he does help him and are in some ways groundbreaking. It's against the norm. It's against the averages, and they've got to go get somebody. And you want to have that person, because it's going to be in the draft. You want to have that person in the system, being able to learn underneath him for as long as you possibly can. And I'm sure they thought Garoppolo, with that timeline, was going to be that guy this year.
Expected Tom.
And now they're resetting it, but it's really borrowed time. Every year is borrowed time.
Everyone's going to focus, understandably, on the Garoppolo trade, right? I want to bring up a different trade, the Jacoby Brissett trade. Because Jacoby Brissett was not a guy who was about to have a brand new enormous contract they were going to have to pay. Jacoby Brissett was not a guy they got a second-round pick for. And Jacoby Brissett was a guy who had actually played more during Brady's suspension than Garoppolo did. If you remember, Garoppolo went out in the early in Game 2. Yep. Brissett played the rest of that game, all of Game 3, and then the fourth game, which obviously they lost. And Jacoby Brissett, a guy who I know both of you have tremendous respect for. Bill Parcells thinks very highly of Jacoby Brissett. And the return from him was a guy they didn't really use this year, in Philip Dorsett. And so when they made both those trades, now you feel like that second-round pick they got from San Francisco, like that might be used on a quarterback. Like, because when we've seen the Patriots recently draft quarterbacks, I know Matt Castle was a seventh-rounder. But Ryan Mallett was a second-day pick instead of a third-day pick. Jimmy Garoppolo, second-day pick. They've spent second- and third-rounders on quarterbacks during the Brady era more than once. And so you can't have Brian Hoyer, I don't think, as your backup plan going into a season. It's one thing to acquire him mid-season when you've traded away your other quarterbacks because he knows the system, but Brian Hoyer is no long-term solution for them.
Yeah, you can't look at New England and what they're doing at quarterback without looking at both of the trades. The Jacoby Brissett, I thought you brought up a good point, because right now, if he was their third, they would be in a lot better shape. But in deciding to trade him, even before they traded Jimmy Garoppolo, it made the Tom Brady decision. It's right now. Like, they got to get someone for Tom Brady right now. Now, with great players like Tom, who have the cachet that they have a little more say in when they're going to get out, they delay your plan because they performed so well when he was 36, 37, 38, and 39. When Nick Wright dropped the gauntlet on him, he said, hey, how y'all like 40?
Okay.
And because he's been so great, he has delayed Belichick, because you know what was going to happen? The next starting quarterback for New England Patriots, you know who that was going to be? Jimmy Garoppolo. But Tom played so well that they couldn't get off of Tom, and they have to let Tom finish what he's doing. He has done things that make Belichick have to go beyond what his plan was. But I like the fact that Mr. Kraft said Belichick knows what his marching orders are. And among his many, many responsibilities, finding him a quarterback after Tom Brady is at the top of that. And I believe this year they will speed that up because of the 2 trades that they made last year. And they will have a quarterback on the roster because New England is used to winning.
Right.
And they know they cannot do that with their current situation with Brian Hoyer being the replacement for Tom Brady. He is a placement holder for a younger player who will take over when Tom's done.
Brian Hoyer, though, is going to be the backup this year. And with Jacoby Brissett, they didn't feel like he was a long-term answer. So that's why they moved on from him when they did. Now they've got to go
and got better than value of any other point. Like people say, oh, this is the hottest he ever was. When Indianapolis, when they lost luck and getting a first-round player in Philip Dorsett, even though it hasn't transferred over, that guy was a high first. I mean, he was a first-round pick. Yes.
Yeah, and they were betting that in their system he could do more than he did in Indianapolis. And sometimes when you get a fresh start, that's what you need. Now the question is, where do they go in terms of getting a quarterback? Ryan Mallett was the highest, I think, with Jimmy and then Ryan Mallett in terms of level of the draft. Most of those guys have been third-round draft picks or late-round draft picks. It's going to be interesting to see how much they're willing to spend in terms of draft capital on trying to find this replacement.
This wouldn't even be a conversation except for a couple months ago. I think they started the season not sure what Tom Brady was going to do, and they planned on keeping Jimmy Garoppolo. They wanted Jimmy Garoppolo there, and then realized 6 weeks in, Tom hasn't lost a step and then had to do something about it. So it's not like they've had 5 years to think about what their backup plan was going to be.
I think Tom has played so well, he's altered any type of plan that they could.
Right.
Like Jimmy Garoppolo, yes, would have been a nice option, but he's not a better option than trying to win a couple more Super Bowls before Tom gets out of there.
It's so funny now when I look at quarterbacks, I've totally recalibrated the age equation. And you look at Drew Brees or Eli Manning or any of these guys, and they're saying, well, they're getting old. Ben Roethlisberger is like, well, not really.
Well, history would say you're right to recalibrate. Going into the 2014 season, one time in the last 60 years in the NFL, a quarterback 38 or older had a passer rating of better than 100. It was Favre's year in Minnesota. In 2014, Peyton Manning did it. 2015 and 16, Tom Brady did it. And then in 2017, Brady and Brees did it. So something that only happened once in 60 years in the last 4 seasons has happened 5 times. Like, we got to redo this math.
That's the irony. Why didn't you show me that stat before the season?
Because I wasn't talking about over 38. I was talking about over 40.
I just think that this could be a situation, too, where they go draft 2 quarterbacks. My first year in New England, we had 4 on the roster. And if you're not sure who the replacement's going to be, go get a couple guys, let them train, let them be in the system, and see which one pans out.
Awesome.
General manager right there. Coach, we'll see you a little bit later in the show. Coming up, I can't do all the job searching for you. Like you have to
talking about Nick.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm always talking about Nick. Hey, why does Kevin Durant keep getting ejected?
Kevin Durant's talking about Nick. He got some words.
Kevin Durant's talking about Kevin Durant.
I wasn't going to mention that.
People say you don't know who Nick Wright is. Kevin Durant knows who Nick Wright is.